Hello friends, today I will be discussing about the history of English literature with its different literary periods and with their different features, movements, important writers and historical events. So without delaying, let's begin it. Before starting the discussion, I want to acknowledge that there is no particular demarcation of time span of all the literary periods. The starting and the ending date of a particular period are not sufficient in itself. They are all approximate date. That's why there may be many opinions regarding the time span of a particular literary period. Thus, I am trying to explain all the periods in my own. So friends, there are many literary periods in the history of English literature. For more lucidly understanding the chronology, we can divide it by followings. The Old English period 450 to 1066, the Middle English period 1066 to 1500, the Renaissance period 1500 to 1660, the New Classical period 1660 to 1785, the Romantic period 1785 to 1832, the Victorian period 1832 to 1901, the Modern period 1901 to 1945, the Postmodern period 1945 to present. So these are all literary periods in English literary history. But some of these divisional periods have their subdivisions too. Likewise, Middle English period is divided into three subdivisional periods. The Anglo-Norman period, that was from 1066 to 1350, the Age of Chaucer 1350 to 1400, the Age of Revival 1400 to 1550. The Renaissance period has four subdivisions. The Elizabethan period 1558 to 1603, Jacobean period 1603 to 1625, Caroline period 1625 to 1649, Commonwealth period 1649 to 60. The Neoclassical period is divided into three categorical periods. The Restoration 1660 to 1700, the Augustan Age 1700 to 1745, the Age of Sensibility 1745 to 1785. The Victorian period can also be seen as the time of Pre-Raphaelite from 1848 to 1860. Aestheticism and Decadence 1880 to 1901. The modern period can be divided into Edwardian period 1901 to 14 and the Georgian period 1914 to 1939. Now let's talk about each literary period with some important characteristic features, literary movements, literary figures, famous writings and historical events. So friends, the first literary period comes as the Old English period. It is also known as Anglo-Saxon period. The name Anglo-Saxon comes from the combination of two names, Angles and Saxons, who were the two among the three tribes of Teutonic ancestors, and the other one was Jutes. This period falls into two divisions, pagan and Christian. The first half can be called pagan period and the ending can be called Christian period. The important works of this Old English periods are Beowulf, the Seafarer, the Wanderer, Dream of the Rood, the Battle of Maldon, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Literature of this period is mainly based on oral literature. The famous known Writers of the period are King Alfred, Bede, Cynewulf, and Sidmon. After the Old English period, then comes Middle English period. Here we can find Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English literature. Literature changed from oral to written in this period. Some major literary figures were Chaucer, Langland, Wycliffe, John Gower, Mandeville. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, Langland's Piers the Plowman, Thomas More's Utopia are among the most famous works of this period. The 100 Years' War occurred in this period. The Black Death came due to plague in this period. The Peasant Revolt of 1381. The War of Roses happens between the Yorks and Lancasters. William Caxton's printing press and William Tyndale's translation of New Testament in 1539 are also very significant. In the English Renaissance period, sonnet grows and becomes popular. Sonnet form was influenced by Italian Petrarch. In this period, we can have a number of great writers such as William Shakespeare, Spenser, Sidney, John Donne, and his group of metaphysical poets. It is the age of spirit of adventure, the quest for learning, and the period of glory and triumph. Towards the end of the period, civil war broke out in England as the result of the clashes between Charles I and Parliament, the beheading of the Charles I, and the ban of theatrical performances. Then we have Neoclassical period. The Neoclassical age basically started through the restoration of monarchy with the restoration of Charles II to the throne. Among the major literary figures, some were John Milton, John Dryden, Alexander Pope, Dr. Samuel Johnson, Oliver Goldsmith. In this period, we can see many styles and genres of writing to enrich the literature, such as diary writings, journalism, periodicals, dictionaries, manifestos, and the works of satire, melodrama, and parodies. After the Neoclassical period, there comes the Romantic Age. It is known as the Age of Revolution and also as the return to nature. This age is assumed to begin with the publication of lyrical ballads by Wordsworth and Coleridge collaboratively in the year of 1798 and is supposed to end with the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. Some others say that the period starts from the French Revolution in 1789, which was a revolt against Louis XVI. It is said that the Romantic writers were greatly influenced by the French Revolution. There are two kinds of generation of Romantic poets. The first generation of Romantic poets are William Blake, William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, and Robert Southey. And the second generation Romantic poets are Lord Byron, P.B. Shelley, John Keats. After the Romantic Age, we have Victorian Age for discussion. The name of the Victorian Age is based on the name of the British Queen Victoria. In her time, a reaction to rapid industrialization can be found. The Great Exhibition of 1851 is a great example of the contemporary industrialization. Many distinguished thinkers were active in this period, such as Darwin, Karl Marx, Friedrich Nietzsche, etc. Many literary figures of fiction can be found in this period, such as Charles Dickens, George Eliot, W.M. Thackeray, Bronte sisters. Many poets of this period were Alfred Lord Tennyson, Robert Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Matthew Arnold, D.G. Rossetti. There were many essayists and miscellaneous writers in this period. Historical and literary movements had great influence on the social and literary lives. Chartist movement of 1838 and the Reform Act of 1832 had tremendous impact on social life. Oxford movement, aesthetic movement, and Pre-Raphaelite movement influenced the literary life. After the Victorian age, there comes the modern age. The modern age is generally started after the First World War, but the year 1922 is very crucial because in this year, T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, Virginia Woolf's Jacob's Room, and James Joyce's Ulysses were published. Literary movements of the age were Imagism, Symbolism, Futurism, Vorticism, Cubism, Surrealism, Expressionism, and Dada. Important novelists of the age are Thomas Hardy, Joseph Conrad, Rudyard Kipling, H.G. Wells, William Somerset Maugham, E.M. Forster, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, D.H. Lawrence. Among the poets, W.B. Yeats, W.H. Auden, Eliot, and some other war poets are very important. Dramatists were G.B. Shaw, John Galsworthy, and Samuel Beckett. Finally comes the postmodern period. Actually, postmodernism has started after the Second World War, and it is still continuing. It can also be said that it is the continuation of modern age, but there is the rejection of many characteristics, features, and discourses of modern period. Major dramatists of the period are Christopher Fry, Bertolt Brecht, Tom Stoppard, Edward Bond, Harold Pinter. Novelist William Golding. The major poets are Alan Rose, Dylan Thomas, Ted Hughes. Thank you so much.